to get the deferral of that capital gain, the taxpayer has to invest the money within 6 months. Okay, so now let's say you guys form this Qualified Opportunity Zone Fund. You go on the air, you advertise it, and suddenly you got $10 million from people who have, diverted their capital gain toward your fund so they don't have to pay tax on it. What do you do with the $10 million? And the answer is if you just leave it in your bank account, you're not a Qualified Opportunity Zone Fund, and now everyone's disappointed and very unpleasantly surprised.
Would you be able to take that money you raised? Yeah, that's right. They call Mark for another reason.
They call me, and I say, they did what? How dare they?
Well, I mean, could they get around that by taking that money that they raised and investing that money into another opportunity fund that's already doing something? And can an opportunity fund invest in another opportunity fund?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you can invest. I don't think one Qualified Opportunity Zone can invest in another one. I'm not 100. I'm 90% sure of that. But here's the thing. Right. The IRS came out with these proposed regulations a couple months ago, and we hoped that the proposed regulations would answer that question, and they didn't. They didn't answer it clearly. It was actually quite confusing on this point because on one hand, they seem to adopt a 3-year rule. They said, if you have a plan to deploy the money and you deploy it over a period of like 30 to 36 months, something like that, then that's okay. Now, what it means to have a plan, it was still open to question. But then in an example they provided, the IRS often uses the examples and regulations to flesh out the general terms. In the example, they say, okay, so-and-so invests this many millions of dollars in a Qualified Opportunity Zone. And like within 30 days, the example recites, they buy the property, and then they spend the next 3 years developing it. And they say, well, that's okay. But that fact that they bought the property within 30 days, nobody knows whether that fact is critical to the result. In other words, if the rule was just going to be you have to have a plan and you have to deploy the money over 3 years, why in your example have a fact that they actually bought land in 30 days? Why not say,
right.
Well, they entered into a contract to buy the land and they closed on it 12 months later or something? That would have eased our minds. But that example, by reciting that they actually had property to buy and they bought it right away, that makes us feel less comfortable. All of which is to say, nobody knows for sure how quickly the money has to be deployed and under what circumstances, which leaves a very large, very large question mark.
Yeah, because there's too many variables. You can't predict government licensing. You can't predict closing.
Exactly.
You can't predict any of that stuff and say it's going to take this time or that time because it never does.
That's the thing. Now, on one hand, I talk to a lot of real estate developers who have projects. They say, hey, listen, I've got this project and I've Qualified Opportunity Zone. And so in that case, sure, the project's there. As soon as the money comes in, it's going to be deployed, no problem. But if you're just trying to create a fund from scratch and you don't have any projects in mind, then it really becomes an issue.
So do you think it's better to, if you're anticipating creating a fund, that you also anticipate what project you're going to invest it in when you have the funds to do it? Because who wants to invest money into a piece of real estate in whatever capacity before you have the funds to do anything?
It's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is. But it's all interesting. This is really it's great stuff. It's all new, and Mark, I got to thank you so much for being a guest on the show again and bringing all these insights into our listeners. I mean, it's amazing stuff. It's great to have a resource like this.
It is wonderful, and I really appreciate it. Always fun talking to you guys and kind of trying to get the word out to people, because that's really what we need to do.
Yeah,
I think we should have another podcast again a little in the future, because there's so much we didn't even address yet.
Yes, there is. Well, I would look forward to that.
I was definitely going to say that because, Mark, everybody out there who's listening, Mark has a great website, crowdfund attorney, actually attny.com, right?
That's it. You got it.
And, folks, he keeps it updated, some really good information on there. If you want to know what an investment advisor really is, you got to check out his last blog post. I thought that was really interesting. That was good stuff, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And, Mark, is that the best way people can get a hold of you if they have any questions or they want to start a fund, maybe start a PPM or do whatever it needs to get done to move a process forward, maybe even a real estate developer who needs your services? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can go to my blog, or they can, if they remember my name and just type into Google Mark Roderick crowdfunding attorney, they will go right there. That's a good way.
Or they could just read the show notes.
They could call me. Yeah. We have these old-fashioned things on our desk still called telephones, and 856-661-2265. That's my old-fashioned telephone number.
Yeah,
that is what we call a landline, so you can't text. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's funny. Oh, boy, has time changed. And Vicki, too, I know we're working on that QOZmarketplace.com to highlight all this information and to make the funds available to people, kind of listing the funds, listing real estate projects, et cetera. So I know you're working hard on that, too, right?
Have it all on our website, the funds that are the zones that are available, directories of people like Mark that you need to get in contact with, and we're trying to populate it now with the investors to go into the fund. So it's a work in process that's growing by the minute.
And the best part about it is that if we get into any legal problems, we can just call Mark.
This is a true fact. Because he likes us so much.
I do. Okay, folks.
Yep. All right.
Thanks
have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too as well. Thank you, everyone out there. You're listening to the MapableUSA.com podcast. You can go to that page, scroll down. You'll see all our syndication sources. Just click on the one you like best and subscribe and follow so you don't miss any episodes. You don't miss any shows like today's show. And we love bringing it to you. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be at you again real soon with another Mapable USA podcast. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.